we're joined by two very special guests, Trudy and Bryce from GLP, one of the biggest developers in whole Latin America, especially in Panama, and Ashley McIntyre, my good friend and investor for years. It's very nice to have you guys here. So Ashley, can you give it a bit of more context of who are you, how we met, and how you've been working with Fine Group for the last 5 years?
Yes. I'm originally from Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, home of the Masters, and family was in real estate a lot. Had a lot of properties doing what we call more and more Section 8 type properties. I'm a physician and businessman, real estate investor. I've been investing in real estate probably since about 2003. We were doing projects called condotels, getting in early. Condotel being the concept where you actually buy a condominium, you own it, have the deed, and when you're not there, it's being rented out to others. It was really Airbnb before Airbnb. I was able to acquire a lot of properties between, and sometimes even flip them between 2003 and 2008. People who are aware of 2008 in the United States, we saw a market crash. We had these balloon note mortgages where you might start off with a mortgage of 3 to 5%, but in 3-4 years, it ballooned up to 8, 10, 12%. People could not afford it, so they lost them. At that time, I was buying with a group, getting discounts, buying in volume. But at that time, a lot of properties were 65% off. So I kept purchasing condotels around the United States at 65% off costs. And these were 65 before pre-construction prices. So I was able to acquire a lot of properties between 2008 and 2012, condotels in different locations.
In the United States?
In the United States. So places like Sandestin, Fort Lauderdale, Atlanta, places that highly travel. So I'm getting a good return on my money. The other thing that's happened is I've been able to get the appreciation of property. So a lot of those properties from 2008, 2012 have gone back up to their original value. When I look at now, say, Panama or other companies and how I got with Fine, I was looking for, my plan being in the beginning, honest, was actually, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma 6 years ago. As a physician, that's strange that you're not telling the patient you have cancer. You're having a doctor telling you, which has, for me, I have really a 40% chance my cancer can come back. At that time, over 10 years, and a 40% chance I could die in 10 years. So we're 6 years out. So my plan B started off as how can I retire early, both being where can I retire early financially.
So you accelerated the plan.
Yeah, so I was able to look at other countries. So I started looking, I'm already in the South of the United States, so I started looking south. And the first place I looked, of course, as you know, when we met several years ago, probably up to 7, 8 years ago, right after my diagnosis, I looked at Colombia, a place that most people would say is dangerous, but I came and I actually felt more comfortable than I felt in the United States. And what I saw that amazed me was the price points were so low. They were 1/10 of the cost of the United States. So here I was in Colombia looking at properties, feeling like I'm in Los Angeles, New York, not what I see on TV, but looking at prices that are lower than what I got in pre-construction. And so I bought a property, and the thing about buying a property, even when I brought it to the United States, it was good to have somebody who's well-informed. So I usually search the internet for somebody who has the most listing of properties. I want that to be my relative because I think they're more informed. And then we'll go on places like TripAdvisor. And TripAdvisor would give you 5 stars, 4 stars. So I kind of use that combination of a property that people want to go to so I can go get a return on my investment with the most informed realtor. What I found in the Fine Group is that's what I had. I had that expertise of finding the property for me. Not only did they find a property for me, they had lawyers, tax lawyers, immigration lawyers,
One-stop shop.
banks, one-stop shop, and I was very comfortable. With the 2 projects that I bought in Colombia, amazing returns on my money, up to 12 to 20% return. I'm getting $400 to $4,000 a month. I visit there frequently. I love what I do. And so, of course, when you came to me and say, hey, we're looking at Panama, I said, well, look at that. So I started looking at Panama, and that's how we got here.
So you started seeing more of an opportunity in Latin America versus what you were seeing in the US back then?
Yes, yes. I tell people it's funny in the United States, when I moved, I'm a practicing physician in Montgomery, Alabama. It was unique to see as I started my practice, I had a lot of people who moved up north about 30 years ago. And they were getting into the industries of the steel mill and automotive. When they retired, 30 years later, they sold their properties up there for 10 times the amount, but were able to move back down south and get a property for a little nothing. And then I saw them have pension plans where they get 68% of what they made. Of course, being up north compared to south, the price points of what they make is so much higher. But when you live in the south, you can't go south.
Yeah.
But now you can.
So let me ask, what were the challenges you faced first or you thought about when investing or relocating funds outside of the US?
Really, I have to give the Fine Group credit for all the investment I've done with them. But when I start seeing things like investing in another country, understanding that my money was going in escrow, it was not going to the developer. Also trying to find, just like I tried to find the most experienced realtor, in this kind of situation, I want to find the most, well-known, biggest developer. So I've also had the benefit to be able to find companies like GLP, large developers. So when I come to Panama, it's nice to know that when I go on a tour, I'm going to the top properties knowing that this is a person that built them and we're just doing another project.
Yeah, credit to GLP. We've been very fortunate to, as of today, we were touring around their multiple projects in Panama City, from short-term to residential to beach properties, everything that you can find in a wide range of options for every single taste. And then from Fine Group, we specialize in assisting foreign investors, mostly from the US, in relocating funds and finding investment opportunities outside, more specifically in Latin America. So this is the case of Ashley, who has been working with us first in Colombia, as he mentioned, now in Panama City, working aside with GLP. Now let's move to the investment side, having someone that knows the Panamanian market in such depth. So Ashley was mentioning the 2008 crash back in the US, and it's very encouraging to talk to you about this and understand how Panama wasn't that affected. Can you tell us a bit more what happened then and how Panama has been differentiating from other markets?
And so basically what I would say along the lines of this is during that time, there was a lot of prices, everything depreciated here really. And for example, where the project is that we're talking about, that entire area never really lost its value. It's somewhere everybody still wants to be. And at the end of the day, we're still going back to the fact that Panama is not a country that's solely dependent on tourism. We only just started, focusing on tourism a couple of years ago with the current government. So that's one of the many things that you can look at in the sense of the consistent government infrastructure that we have. It was basically just really easy for the country to bounce back from 2008. I lost my train of thought.
No, I agree, because we've had multiple conversations with Ashley about trying to find the best opportunities here in Panama, and what has come to our attention is the canal, the business side to Panama. Even like the Tucumán airport, they have close to 20 million passengers a year. It's the airport with the biggest connectivity in the whole Latin America area, and a lot of people that are coming, they're not tourists. Tourism is growing, but the reality is they are business travelers. I would like for you to tell us a bit more about the law that changed the game, which was where the main multinationals started being based in Panama.
Okay. So basically, several years ago, long before I was here, and they basically implemented a law that allowed multinationals to set up their headquarters here, and they wouldn't be taxed on their income. So there, for a long time, we still had a lot of people coming here regardless, just as a travel hub. But once they set up that law, it kind of allowed a lot of tax breaks for, Adidas, Johnson & Johnson, Estee Lauder, McKinsey Phillips, Halliburton. All of these companies started bringing their headquarters here because they can pay their employees tax-free, right? And it costs a lot less to house them here, to pay their income here, than to say in their New York headquarters. So they're still getting their New York fees, but You're spending a lot less. Your dime goes a lot farther.
Now I want to ask a question to both of you, starting with you as an investor and you as a developer side. Where are you seeing the most opportunity here in Panama?
For me, as she mentioned, when I was doing my research, I saw over 180 different corporations being here. As a physician, sometimes I do locums work. So as locum work, I'll go somewhere and work for a week or 2 weeks or a weekend. And I know what it's like to do that. And when I found out about the tax breaks they get, it reminds me of some of my patients who would go over to Saudi Arabia and different places where they could work on contract and not have to pay taxes on the first 89,000. So when I heard that, it's not Saudi Arabia, you're on a 4-hour flight away from home, and you're able to come here and do a similar thing, work, not pay taxes. And as a businessman, it makes sense to me that if I have to house my people and pay them, why not, do it in a place where I can do it cheaper? So that's what kind of drew my attention to what she was saying, the different corporations come here. That was big for me to know that people were coming. The other thing was the Airbnb that I found out, understanding that for me, I said I got into condo hotels before Airbnb existed. Difference being a condo hotel, the developer actually managed it themselves. I didn't have to worry about anything. I get a check every month. When Airbnb came about, it was a lot of people managed themselves, a lot of headache, having to deal with it. You did have two platforms, Airbnb, and you had the VRBO, but you still had to deal with the people unless you paid somebody to do it. So even I didn't get into that market because I was so used to buying a quality product on a resort, with being managed by the developer.
Turnkey.
And turnkey. And so what drew my attention here is to also realize that Airbnb didn't exist here. That when we talk about these corporations, you're talking about doing business, the minimum stay had to be at least 45 days. There were not daily rentals. So when I look at me wanting to work here and having to stay in a hotel for 3 weeks, 4 weeks with just a bed, that would drive me crazy. So to know now that companies like GLP and then maybe two other companies, corporations, have the ability now to have daily rentals and have a daily rental now with more like a condominium unit with a lot of amenities. I know for a fact that if I had to choose as a locals person to actually stay somewhere, and when I looked at numbers, it almost looks like the price of staying there is same price standard hotel.
With a bigger space.
With a bigger space. So why would I stay in a hotel when I can have a kitchen, a family room, and a bedroom and feel more like I'm coming home? So to be now in Panama, understanding that change is happening. You already have, like you say, you already have the corporations here. You have travel increasing. You have this new Airbnb market that's coming, that's limited. I like
Would you
that.
agree that the Airbnb market is also a nice opportunity here?
Oh, 100%. I think we should stop calling it Airbnb. It's short-term
Short-term
license.
rentals?
Short-term
Absolutely.
rentals, right? It's important mainly just because Panama, as we will consistently talk about this, it's a travel hub. Okay, so it's rentals across the board, and it changes obviously depending on which part of the country you're in. As we mentioned here, in the area where they have all the corporations, they'll probably do longer term rentals because these are corporations sending down executives for 3 to 6 months, even a year, versus another location where everybody wants to be in the middle of the nightlife. They want to be in oceanfront. They're gonna be here for a couple of nights. Short-term rentals. People go to the beach religiously here. Short-term rentals again. So rentals across the board. Real estate in general in Panama is the way to go. When I look at everything here in terms of after moving here and living here for 7 years. The biggest thing I've always said to people, cost of living, easy, very affordable. But the biggest thing that people will always pay for here, and the most in terms of scarcity, is real estate. That's a really big thing here because Panama is surrounded by protected land. They can't build out anymore. So what you have here is
limited.
It's very limited. So what you have here, you're sitting on a gold mine. If you have real estate in Panama, you're good to go.
So the next 10 years are going to be crucial.
Very
To
crucial.
give a context to everyone, we've been very fortunate to have worked with GLP on a project called Ventu, which we'll later talk about and we will present, where my good friend Ashley has been an angel investor there. This is a project that has 80 Airbnb ready or short-term rental ready turnkey units right in the heart of Panama City, where we've seen that a lot of investors have diversified, more looking for the cash on cash returns and the appreciation. So we'll get to that next.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention that I don't think I completely answered your question when we start talking about this quote unquote plan B. For me, in America, things are changing a lot. And when I say America, let me say United States of America, because there's North America. These
We're
are
in America
continents.
now.
Right. So the United States of America is undergoing a lot of change, and the change that are going on are kind of scary, to the point where a lot of people are considering a second residency, a visa, a safe space for their family, because it's kind of chaotic there now. So for me, it's one of those things where when I would say, just be very transparent, am I going to go to Africa to live? That's a 24-hour flight. And my wife looks
Different
at me.
time zone.
She wants to be close to her grandkids and kids. So we at this close to this retirement age. So if we were to move away somewhere and have to come back, we wouldn't want to come back, a day. She would not want to be a full day's trip away. So the big thing about Central and South America is from Atlanta, it's a 4-hour flight. And I tell all the time to
Time
go,
zone and connectivity.
right. It's like she's like, well, 4-hour flight. I'm like, well, if we in Atlanta and our kid moves to Dallas, Texas, in the United States, we still have a 4-hour flight. But again, my plan B now, and I feel like it wasn't really foresight, because my original reason for doing it was because of the fact that I, became ill and wanted to exit early in retirement and be able to, she say, move to an area where it doesn't cost me as much to live, which allows me to retire early, because how much I need to live is less. So if I was talking about my Social Security, I probably could live here off of 1/3 of my Social Security check. But if I was to move to South Florida, I would need more. So, without getting into the details, I really don't have to say what's going on in the United States, but a lot of people there are looking for another safe haven, a safe place, a safe space to go that offers visas. And I know we'll probably get into the visas and
No, but that topic
taxation.
is very interesting. So let's talk about the expats. So there's a big expat community here.
Very big expat community. Very big expat community. That's actually how I started working with GLP. I came to visit and I was in an expat WhatsApp group, and my boss, who is from Nebraska, she's like, hey, there's this job and we want some English speakers. And here I am 7 years later, still working with them. So there's a huge expat community and it's consistently changing. I'm considered a long-term expat because I'm still here. You have the short-term expats, they're only here for 6 months, but it's like literally a revolving door. It's consistent.
And I want to add to that, JP, is, it's funny how in America, United States of America, I got to get better at saying that. In the United States, we have this unique thing about portraying anything outside of the United States as dangerous. And so I've been here several times. I brought down groups several times, and it's funny to hear them say, Colombia, you're thinking about Pablo Escobar. That was 1989. They go there now, like, I feel like I'm in New York. They come to Panama, they're like, wow, I thought I was coming to a quote unquote third world country, but I feel like I'm in Miami
of Latin America.
So it shocks them to see. And one time we're in Colombia, my friends asked, you go on the internet and search, is it safe to go there? It's funny how we decided to look and see what other countries are telling their people about coming to the United States. And it's funny how they talk about there are mall shootings. I'm like, yes, there are. There are, people going to shoot up schools. That is true. So I can imagine somebody who's not from the United States looking online, seeing that not the ones, you got to go down to like the second, third page and see what they're telling people from China and Australia about coming to America. When I read it, I have to really say, you know what? All these things they're saying are true. I live there. But to go to these countries
Perspectives.
and come and visit myself and get my own perspective is unique. And everybody I bring here says the same thing. So I think everybody
Seeing
should
is
come
believing.
visit. Yes. Yeah. You have to see it. You have to be here. And the people just, want to, cater you. The concierge is out his word. The food is great. It's
And one
interesting.
thing that makes it easier, and we'll get to that, is the dollar.
Yes.
You guys in Panama, we have the same currency as the U.S. So for you guys, it's just makes it so much easier.
Right.
Transactions, buying real estate, it's the same process. Can you walk us through like the investment process per se and how similar it is to the U.S. because it's pretty much the same.
It's not exactly the same, but it's very, very similar because technically Panama does have their own currency. It's called the Balboa, but it's cheap. So one of the things is this is also very important because we're dollarized. It makes our economy stronger because we're not out here printing our own money. We just use America's money. We use their money, so we're not worried about printing our own money. But in terms of, and I've said this a lot of times when I talk to people, and it's in a lot of different aspects of the country, barriers to entry is very low. Barriers to entry is very low. There are a lot of things in terms of, so any foreigner can come and purchase property here, right? It has one of the best residency by investment programs in the world. It's been pretty consistent for the last 30 years. When I came in 7 years ago, all I had to do was just stay here for 2 years. That's all I had to do, and then they just gave it to me. So
investing in real estate will also get you that residency.
It gets you it a lot faster. So you don't have to do the whole two years thing and all of that stuff.
Which is perfect for those expats who are looking to relocate.
Right.
Right.
Right. And we met with a lawyer today, and there were so many different visas you can get. It's amazing. And the entry into those visas is easy. I also add that from a financing standpoint, as I've looked at other countries like, say Jamaica or different Caribbean countries, they don't allow you to get a mortgage if you're not a citizen.
Right.
And the interest rates, like in Jamaica, are 26%, even if I could. So it makes you have to pay this cash purchase. That's a lot. What I've enjoyed about Panama is, especially when you're dealing with getting together with GLP, when you have a developer that has relationships with banks, I was shocked to know that, even in Colombia, I had to finance it over several times, but it had to be a 2-year buy. What I see here is that I'm putting down a small percentage, financing over 2 years of new projects. And then at the end, I'm able to get a traditional type mortgage on a 10, 15, 20 year, which makes my investment even more attractive because now I have a product that I'm renting out that's bringing me income. But because I finance 70% of my product, it's a wash that I make money. Now, of course, I did that when I bought the property 65% off. That let my mortgage be low because I got it at a discount. What I like about here, like I said before, I'm already getting a discount because I'm buying another country where the price points are lower, but the rent is good. So I kind of like also in Panama, the relationship, and I can't speak for every developer, but I can speak for GLP and dealing with them, my friends and family and clients I brought here, it was unique. And even the developer sometimes has financing, but to know that I'm able to take an appreciation asset that gives me monthly, but able to leverage 10, 20, 30% down on a project that's appreciating, and then be able to finance the
So you not only see it as a relocation of funds, but also as an attractive investment.
Yes.
So the attractive investment for us at Group Find would be, we get a decent cash-on-cash passive income. That's what we search for our clients. And 2, appreciation on the asset.
Right.
So it's fair to say, because that's what we've seen in Panama. That's the target. It's fair to say that what we're offering here in Panama for you is more competitive than what you're seeing back at home.
Yes, definitely. Especially the price points.
Even as foreigners, we get the interest rates that we get as foreigners, it's only 1% different from locals. So you're really treated as a local across the board when it comes to a lot of things here.
So you have the same rights and obligations as any Panamanian to
Correct.
own and buy and sell property.
Correct. It's not like in Mexico where, foreigners can't own so and so in front of the water. You can buy anything you want. Everything is available to you. Doesn't matter your residency status.
One of the things that I forgot to discuss with you guys is taxes. So we found it very attractive. We brought in a lot of people from outside, especially from Colombia, that have invested into Panama, and they found the tax brackets more competitive than in Colombia and in other countries. How are you seeing it in relation to the US, and what are you seeing here locally?
Well, I'll say first from a standpoint, the one thing my father taught me was financial literacy. And one thing that people don't understand about the tax code in the United States, per se, is your 9 to 5 is the worst money you can make. Because it's taxed based on the more money you make, the more they take. And then after that, you got to go buy groceries as tax. You got to get a retirement, then we take it out as tax. So you tax to death. But the code in the United States, for people who don't know, is actually designed for people who actually own corporations or own real estate. So you own a corporation, you get to write all the things you have to pay for. In real estate in the United States, you actually only pay 15% after expenses, so it's a wash. So as I'll say, Robert Kiyosaki says, he can make $1 million in real estate, but then have to pay $500,000 in taxes. He pays 15% after. So what money makes more sense? Going out working or
Passive income.
Or passive income, not working, is something working for you. So for me, when I looked at taxes here, just number one, I'm getting a real estate product that's appreciated. But the taxes here are so low, and she can speak more to it than I can.
Can you elaborate
it's
a bit more on
unbelievable,
this?
the taxes that versus what I pay in the States, even on my real estate.
That part. I'm always in awe of the amount of tax that people tell me when I tell them how much their tax is gonna be based on their property here, and they're like, for 1 year? And I'm just like, yes, that's for 1 year. So in Panama, the first 120,000 of your primary residence is untaxed. So anything past that, up to a certain point, obviously about 700,000, is 0.5%. So let's say you have something that's valued at 500K, you're likely gonna pay about $800 in property tax for the year. And they actually give you an incentive to pay it earlier because they're like, hey, pay it at the beginning of the year and we give you a 10% discount. And then when we're looking at income tax, that 95 tax that you were talking about, right? You're only taxed on income that you make here. And it's, again, up to a certain point. So if you're making up to 11,250, you're not taxed. There's no income tax, right? And then after that, it's 0.07. So it goes up and up and up, but it's based on certain brackets. So again, I'm hearing people telling me in Texas, they're like, oh yeah, I paid $25,000 in property tax, and that's just insane to me. That's crazy. So again, just to go back, like he said it, and I'll say it again, like taxes, people always say Panama is a tax haven. It's not just because you don't pay tax, but it's also because the taxes are so low.
It's more competitive.
It's more competitive, and it's not just for foreigners. It's literally across the board for everyone.
I think one thing I found out, JP, between FIND and GLP, the group that I brought down today, one thing we did that I like is they arranged for us to go speak to some attorneys to understand, about trust, about taxes. And the one thing he said that shocked me, to add to what Trudy just said, is that tax of $800 per year, whereas in America, our property is assessed every year and the tax could go up. Here, whatever tax basis you are when you buy it, you pay that same tax forever. Mm-hmm. So if I buy a property now and my tax is $800 for the entire year, it's $800 for the next 5, 10, 15,
Stable.
20 years. It doesn't change. because they don't reassess it. The only time it's reassessed, which shocked to me, is if I sell it.
Correct.
But then the next person I sell it to, they get their tax rate, and then it stays the same for them. So that for me was amazing, that I can own a property here and I pay the same tax as long as I own it, no matter how much it goes up in value. And that right there amazed a lot of the people that I brought in today.
So why don't we get on and talk about and present the project that you've invested in Ventu.
Yes.
To summarize, we discussed today Panama as an investment or retirement option due to political stability, expat community, connectivity, same time zone as the East Coast of the United States, tax benefits, US dollar as the currency, and a lot of upside within the next 10 years, especially with GLP, who is one of the
Yes.
nicest and biggest developers here.
People love we are only humble when we say one-off. We're just not trying to not hurt certain people's feelings, but GLP has been around for 40 years. This is a second generation developer, and his goal has genuinely been to change the skyline of the country.
No, for us at Find Group, we've been helping investors for the last decade and finding teams like yours, companies with so much trajectory, makes it unbelievably easy to relocate our investments, thesis, and clients. And I want to thank Ashley for the trust so far, and hopefully this is the first of many more transactions in Panama.
Yes, definitely.